Welcome to the Infinite Creative Podcast. My name is Fitz, and this is
Sean.
Yeah. We're like kind of creative freelancers, and this podcast is all about creating and freelancing and doing podcasting. So today we're focusing on the podcasting aspect and just keep it a little bit loosey-goosey. We got a couple topics, but we're kind of just leaning into like making a living of shorts, what my experience are, because I have another podcast where I basically interview like TikTokers and influencers and videographers, and we do produce some shorts, and I know some people who make some money with it. I don't know anybody who makes a living with it, even though they have like thousands of followers and millions of views. But yeah, the other thing that we want to talk about is gut feelings. My gut feeling right now is like, I don't know, this episode could be really good or could be, you have to say good.
Really, really, really good. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's how it feels. That's how the gut feels right now.
Yeah. I think we should jump into gut feelings, or should we first do the YouTube thing? What do you feel like?
I mean, let's do the YouTube stuff. Let's get into the nitty gritty and end on some fun stuff.
Okay, I have to ask you then a couple questions, but okay. Let's talk about YouTube news. The YouTube news is like they finally came out with a program where you can get paid for your views, and that sounds great, or? Well, but on that note, Sean, would you expect how many views you should get to be paid on YouTube?
I mean,
I kind of briefed you, so you already have an idea, but what was your initial idea of like how much money you could make with a short and how much do you need?
Well, I mean, yeah.
In the beginning.
In terms of like making money on a short, I don't know. It's like it's kind of ambiguous on purpose. I mean, views on videos are something like, I don't even know there, right? I don't even know those numbers. Like 20,000 would maybe you'd start to get paid something maybe on the shorts, but it'd be nothing, and then it'd maybe be something substantial when you hit 1 million. I don't know.
Okay. I think like I should dive a little bit into that because like I don't know, like most people probably don't know or kind of don't know, but I made my first $100 I think like 4 years ago on YouTube when the rules were different and it was better to be a small creator. So the requirement was like just get 100,000 views, get I think like over 100 subscribers, and that's all you had to do. And then you basically get paid per 1,000 views, and the amount is depending on your CPM. And that is like basically. Oh, we're getting visitors. Basically, it says like if you have 1,000 views, you maybe get like $1 or maybe up to $5, depending on what type of ads they can put in front of your video. What is very interesting because I made a video with 300 views and I made like $4 on it, and I felt like, what? And it was like just a little skit about making laundry, but apparently it was good paying, and I liked it, and it kind of got me hooked on like, wait a minute, you can make money with YouTube? And yeah, since then the rules have changed. You need like 4,000 hours of watch time, which is really hard to get, and you need to have 1,000 subscribers. Obviously, that is already a hard bar to pass if you don't really have a niche. But now with the whole shorts kind of sort of situation, it's really easy to get a lot of views. So you would assume like you would get paid. But for the longest time, YouTube is not paying for shorts. So it's basically there's a lot of people growing an account with short content, and it's like all vertical. That's what I mean with shorts. But obviously they don't make any money. Obviously you get a lot of views and you get some good following, but you cannot really monetize it because they just want to go there and see the little skit. But finally, they came out with a monetization program, and the monetization program is a little bit rough, up to my opinion, because you need to have in 90 days 10 million views. And that number is kind of bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, wait, so you have to have 10 million views in 90 days? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, on average.
So insane.
Yeah, so here's us kind of struggling with producing shorts, and we should do more shorts because the podcast itself is really hard to grow because it's long-form content. Not everybody has time for it, but if you just get the best content out of like an hour, that will usually go like, oh, you get 1,000 views or maybe 2,000 or 5,000, whatever, you know, somewhere in that range, or maybe just 200. But yeah, that is for a small creator now, the numbers. Now divide that by 10 million. And I'm just like, in 90 days? I'm just like, yeah, it's not really meant for the small creator. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of rough.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's serving two different purposes, I guess. I guess they're really just recognizing that some short creators are so amazing that they're probably getting hundreds of millions of views. Even they're hitting these crazy benchmarks. So I'm because really it's shorts, in my opinion. I may be completely wrong. Up to this point, has just been like good promotion. It's just a good way to bring people in. It's never really been. It's always about bringing them in and then giving them the main content. So like, yeah, in our case, you're right. Like we could benefit from doing kind of separate shorts on the side that point to the podcast, and they could be clips from the podcast. I think it's even more fun when it's stuff that's outside of the podcast. But like, but you're right. Like but it's interesting because I think them doing this show tells me that like there's people so good at just the shorts now that they are. That it's worth actually offering to pay. But you're right, like that is a lot of hits that something has to make. That's a lot of, well, and it's easier for those things to get hit. I mean, they get those views so much more, so it's just this economy of scale, right? Where the bigger videos, I mean, I've even seen, I'm sure you've had this where you've even seen like a star have a video on YouTube and it's only hitting 5,000 or 10,000, some measly small number, and you're like, what the heck's going on here? But then you see these, I've seen reels on YouTube already and shorts and things, even on Instagram, all of the stuff. I know I'm now mixing up all the verbiage, but I've seen these shorts where they're just like they're nothing. They're like not even well made, and sometimes I don't even understand the concept, and it's like 3 million hits. So it's this different world. It's weird.
So we're talking a lot about like the great equalizer, about with like having tools really cheap available. And now we have all that camera shenanigans, and everybody has an iPhone, four free lenses on it, you know, front, back, whatever. Now with the whole internet, everybody has like a way to monetize it. It's also like the great equalizer. The only problem is it's not equalized with the income, because you need to hit those crazy numbers to make a living. We're not talking about like just making some money. You just have to hit those crazy numbers to make some money. And now it's like, yeah, it's kind of tough on the bottom. What do you think about like trying to become an influencer in these days? Or what is your opinion in general on that? If you're like, okay, I want to get a lot of views and that's your main concept. Just be honest. I want to just like hear the whole Shawnaroo.
Yeah, I mean, the Shawnaroo. Here's the real Shawnaroo. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say because I'm not an influencer, so that's where I feel a little hesitant to even say, because it's like me talking about something I haven't really done. But I would say,
but you
know
what I mean? It's like so.
But firsthand experience of trying to run up this hill of getting noticed in the online world. It comes down to the niche, I think. It's interesting because it's like being weirder now, you get rewarded. Even if it's negative weird, I hate to say, but being weirder now in an influencer world seems to be the best thing. And funny comedy. I mean, I still come back to comedy. I think the funniest people like tend to rise to the top, even out of like, you could even have the looks, and it's all about your looks and how beautiful you are. But even the girl or guy that's just as beautiful as you, but comedic, rises past you, I've noticed. I mean, so us comedic goofballs, we actually have a shot because we're like funny.
Yeah, kind of a shot.
We don't. This whole podcast is us like not trying to be funny, but I think secretly
we're holding back,
hilarious.
Yeah,
we really are.
But on that note, like for me, it's like a kind of interesting concept because like on my podcast, I interviewed a bunch of people, and some of them they're pulling in like 4 million views, and it's more about like you have the following, you get a sponsor, and then you make money with the sponsor. And the views don't really pay anymore. And now it's like, oh, the views from shorts are like really hard to monetize, and you don't even get the spillover. So basically, like if you have a following, they don't really care because they just like swipe, and don't care. It's like, it's a really weird time. If you would have the same traffic like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, oh my God, everything would be so different.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because, you know, we are unlocking new generations of people, too, that are And I think where you found those people is in the places like TikTok and stuff, the young people, the 16-year-olds, 14-year-olds that are just entering in. So they're becoming the new consumers. Yeah. And it's kind of creepy in a weird way, like how cannibalistic like the marketing people are to that. Like they're immediately like, let's get in there. The kids are in there. That's where we want to be. And it's kind of crazy. Sell. So now, Pepsi's in TikTok and you got like, whatever. I go down the list. It's just like, so it's like this, the safe space kind of gets invaded a little bit. And so it's really, we're in this weird thing now. And then, so it's like shorts are the new thing, I think, because that's what young people really like. And yet again, just like I said last episode, I hate to say it, but we're not those young people anymore. We are now the old marketing people.
A weird thing that I realized is like some young people don't even do the social media anymore, and it's like kind of like a weird thing, like I don't want to even be on there, and I'm just like, this is really healthy, and it's like you feel bad when you sit there and scroll all day on your phone, and I'm doing that a little bit, but I don't know, what's your experience with social media? How do you consume it? Are you like
I wanted to bring something up here that's actually really interesting. This just made me think of. I was having this conversation the other day about how cool it is to meet people that aren't on social media that are just really rad people. But then on the other end, how you get this weird sadness too that like they don't share it. Like it's this like it's interesting. Like it's both beautiful and tragic when people don't share anything they do. Like he was talking about this guy he met that was like a rock climber who also paints while he rock climbs. Like he'll set up a canvas and like start painting on the side of a cliff, like an open air thing. I was like, oh, cool. Where can I find him? He's like, he doesn't do anything. And I was like, what? I was like, that's
you got to climb the same hill to find his painting.
And I was just like, this guy could make so much, like doing that. Like that's so cool, right? Like, like that would be really cool. That's a cool niche, but it's kind of beautiful in that way too. Like we can't just Google that. You'd have to find him, and that's kind of cool.
That reminds me of those Buddhists, when they have those Zen gardens and they make it really pretty and then they destroy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's interesting
like
about
the same thing, nobody will know how pretty it was.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and that's okay too. In a weird Buddhist way, it's like as long as you made it and you did it, then that's all that mattered. Is that it did happen. But yeah, no, it's so I don't know. So I mean, to kind of bring it back, it's like I almost feel like I think we think of influencers as online, but I think what you and I just talked about just briefly is there influencers offline? And there is, obviously, right? You have like movie stars, for example, that before there was even an internet that really we were all on, there was like Brad Pitt's and Michael Keaton's and Julia Roberts's and stuff like that they were so they were influencers. And you have government influencers, so there's influencers outside of the digital realm too. But so maybe that's next. Maybe that's what all the kids are doing after TikTok. They're like, you know what? Photo, video, text. That's all it is. Yeah. And then maybe there's augmented reality. So that's really the next step, I guess. But then, after that, it's like
that kind of
IRL.
Inspires me again, because like back in the day, you always had like a leader, a hero, or whatever, the person that inspires you, where you look up to. And even if AI and all that stuff is like getting really big, you still will look to your fellow human being and will try to strive into that direction, who's the best around you, and flock to them and be like, I maybe want to be as good as him, even though he's not as good as that program, whatever, and you still get inspired. So there's always hope. Because we ended some of the podcasts like a little bit dark, but I just wanted to throw that out there, just like
you don't want to end it dark like we've ended like every podcast so far? Okay, fine. All right. But no, I mean,
nobody
like,
makes it to the end.
Yeah, so if I was to like give, me not being an influencer, to give someone like, hey, if you want to have influence, it would be, go back to some of the lessons we've talked about in this of finding niches, having empathy for other people and being real with that empathy. So go out, leave the good comments, be nice to people, tell them good job, get that tribe around you. Because if you can get that small tribe, which I've done in real life, I'm really happy to say I have a very small tribe of people that are super dedicated and love me. Do that online is what I would say. At least get the 10, 20 people. If it's your mom and your 2 neighbors, whatever, like get those people that are going to like every single thing out of love.
Oh boy. I'm just imagining, like a 50-year-old trying to build a tribe, and he's like just trying to make friends with 2 chatbots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? And there's that too, yeah. I mean, I'd almost be happy to get a lot of bots to start following some of my things. Hey, look, man, I got 10K.
Yeah, verified and everything.
I'm influencing an election, maybe, but whatevs, bro. I got 10K. But yeah, I mean, so it is interesting. I mean, there's bad things about being an influencer too, though. That's what I would also say is like, at least enjoy now that you're not that important. You can say stupid stuff. You can put crap out there. No one cares. Yeah. So at least enjoy the animosity and anonymosity, the being secret. I don't know. Yeah. But enjoy that. Enjoy that. And like, don't worry about the come up, just make good shit. That's what it comes down to. It's just like if you were going to make a cool rap album, it'd just be like, well, make cool stuff, Make sure to share it, put it out there. Just like you and I are in this podcast, we're just like, we're creating stuff, and even if it doesn't get views, it's out there. And I like that idea that it's just out there in the ocean of the internet, and it can be found, and it can pop off later.
Till I come down and cut those stories, because I'm working on it. I have like a good master plan. So I saw some people like basically just like batch cutting everything, and it's just like 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, and it just scheduled the upload. And I'm like, maybe I'm just doing that too now, but we need to find our time. But it goes all back to like just produce good work and just like focus on the thing, like those Buddhists and whatever, they make it as good as possible and then move on after they destroyed it.
Right. Well, and if we're going to talk about Buddhism and use that as an example, I would say, the Buddhists, when they're doing the sand garden, they're focusing on the act of making the sand garden completely and utterly. They don't care about what happened before or after then. And so I would say that too. Focus completely on your craft. Be present. Who cares what they're doing over there and over there? Just do good stuff. Just focus 100% on what you're doing. Yeah. And the money will come.
Yeah, so on that note, like, I think we should switch gears again, because like we talked a little bit about the weird reels and videos and all that shenanigans. What's popping in your life, Sean?
What's popping in my life? Yeah, I mean, right now I just got done with a few different meetings. I got some new websites that are popping off. I got a call back about the Gold Nuggets. Go see the Space Force and Gold Nuggets episode. I think it's episode like 5 or I don't know, something. And but that came out. We made the hats for them. They went and gold panned, and they didn't find any gold, but they almost did. And he had another project for the Black Sand Club, so I'll have to show you that one. That's kind of under process, the Black Sand Club. So black sand, just so you know, is what you find before you find gold. But if you find a lot of it, it means that there's no gold, but that you're close to gold. So it's kind of a joke for them that, like, we can always get close to gold, but we're not finding it. So it's the Black Sand Club.
Hey, I did not know that. That's actually pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of cool. Yeah, there's a Colorado gold finding fact for you. But yeah, so that's going on. I've been really just trying to get an organizational system together that's working a little bit better for me. I think that, and for that just means like just playing more with things like Calendar, Notion, doing that. How's that working? Am I getting overwhelmed? Why am I getting overwhelmed? But other than that, I'm trying not to fill my plate too much. So it's been a lot of fun stuff too. Like I've talked about the D&D campaign, been doing lots of disc golf and stuff, and just kind of getting away from the computer, which has been nice. My art's still in that gallery, so I've had a couple close calls to selling paintings.
Photos and stuff of the event of you posing with your art, because that is promotional material, and that's what I always recommend getting, so you can flex for the internet.
It's true. I do need to flex better through the internet. This is funny because this is almost like a Zoom call with my marketing guy. This is my marketing consultant, actually. End the call. But yeah, so I do. I need to get a little bit better at that. I started Instagram for it, and I can't even tell you the name of it. I didn't even add anything. But yeah, so I focus too much on making stuff. So for all of you out there, maybe do a little bit more of me, but don't go fully in and completely forget about promoting. You kind of want to be somewhere in the middle of here, like. yeah, literally like in the middle of both of our heads. But yeah, how about you? What's new in your world? I know you got lots going on, but just throw us one of them, really.
So I kind of struggle right now with. when I briefed you, I was like, okay, gut feeling. And I'm like, it's a thing that I ignored, but I shouldn't ignore, like making priorities. And there's apparently a couple rules that always stay true, even though it goes well for a moment. And I'm like, should I listen now? Because like I got a client back where I had like, it was a lot of work, a lot of maintenance that shouldn't be, But I'm like, do I want to go back to that? Because like the gut feeling was like no, and I got away from it on good terms, obviously, and everything. But now it's coming back again, and I'm like, should you break those rules? What is your opinion on that? If you have a gut feeling about like clients and in general, doing work, not doing the work, because I have a couple projects going on where I'm like, gut feeling is like,
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that gut feelings are so important. I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, and I ignore them more than I should. I end up telling myself like, oh, it's fine. No, you're just overthinking it. But they are important. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things like forgive, but don't forget type of thing. So. Like I'll let people back in if they haven't fully blown up the bridge. If they haven't done that, then I'll maybe like, okay, let's see if you've learned your lessons. Let's have a meeting. If her test was like couldn't show up to a meeting on time, I'd be like, well, let's have a meeting. Let's see if you show up on time.
Yeah,
if you don't, then things aren't different. So I've done that before where like, even let's say I've even had it where projects like ended and they were like unhappy about the price or something even, and there's some weirdness there. And then they come back like 6 months later. I'll even then be like, oh, okay, well then let's do this smaller chunk and let's see if you want to pay for this smaller chunk then. Like I almost have to like test to see like you're cool with price, right? Like before I get back to that level. So I mean, yeah, so no, follow your gut feeling because you're not desperate for work. We're all desperate for money, but like not necessarily work. I mean, like that's what I've had to start saying to myself, and this is kind of a newer thing this year is like do the like you got to think about your side hustles too, and like if this thing is lesser than your side hustles, less than other paying work, less than all of these things, then like it's respectful for you to just tell them no, because if you go into it, you're going to go into it weird already. It's like you're already going to be acting different than you would a normal client you were excited to be with, and that's kind of already weird. So you may even create a weird situation, I would say. So I would say no, just politely say sorry, you got too much work. Like it sounds like you don't need to burn the bridge. I would just be like, sorry, I got too much stuff on my plate right now to do this.
Yeah. Well, the true.
That's the truth, isn't it? You got a lot on your plate, I think.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of stuff going on, my dude. I have gas apparently because, like in the background, you see my new transmitter and receiver setup for my camera, and now I can transmit live streams, and I'm so hype about it. And want to play a little bit more with it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, got a wedding coming up where I'm going to use it and live streaming to Russia. This will be very interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So, I mean, so to kind of keep playing with the gut feeling, I think that comes with everything too. I think the place I actually don't see people follow their gut feeling is actually when they're getting that full-time job. It's so crazy because the whole idea of getting a job is really interesting where you go in, like, well, you have to find it usually. I mean, sometimes you get headhunted. I've been headhunted a lot this year, but a lot of it's turned into nothing. But like a lot of the time, like you have to go find it. There's an opening, you're lucky, you go, you apply, you have to do a cover letter, you have to send them a link to your portfolio, things like that. And it's interesting because it's already starting with you kind of desperate to get it. And I've seen so many people miss the red flags in that first interview even. So like one of the first things that I like to look at that is a great telltale sign is how do they talk about the person that you replaced? Right? Was there a video guy before you? Was there a marketing director before you? Was there a search engine optimization person before you? And if there was, like, why did that not work? And if they're polite and they're awesome to work with, you're going to hear that they're like, that they're even if that person did a bad job, they're going to still be empathetic. They're still going to talk well about that person. They're still going to be nice. But the bad people are the people that are going to just pounce on that person, call them crap, say everything they did was a waste of time, waste of money, all of those things. And if you hear that, don't think that that'll never happen to you, right? And so that's one of them. Is in an interview, how do they talk about past people? But yeah, it's crazy though. I've had so many friends recently I've talked to that they get desperate to get the job. They just miss the red flags. They miss that they can say no. That you can say no.
Syndrome, like sometimes you're like, oh, it sounds so good because like you see all the good stuff about it, but not the bad stuff about it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of weird. So yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, it's you just have some bias that you want it to do well, so it has to do well. And if by doing well, that means you get hired. You never think of doing well as you saying no to a job that you're applying to. That you don't just think of that.
What do you think about that concept? Going against the gut feeling can be fine if like the rules that are like, okay, your rate is at least paid, and it's good for the money and stuff like that. But if you compromise on like 2 or 3 things, then it's definitely not worth it, even if there's one awesome thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think it just depends on like what's the context of that gut feeling. I think Do you see things or do you hear things that later you're thinking about and making you feel weird about something? Like that's something to definitely follow. Is it something like where you should do something but you're too scared to do it and you're that's the gut feeling is fear, but you just usually have a fear, so you're scared of public speaking, so you have a gut feeling you're going to be scared to do this speech. That's different. That's like That's like something that like you can change that gut feeling. It's still trying to help you, but now it's no longer serving you, where there's other things that are helping you. It's like, so because your gut feeling, you know how that works, right? So the gut actually has a nerve that actually is the fastest nerve to your brain, comes from your gut. And so that's why they call it gut feeling. So it's actually like a survival type of instinct. It really is trying to help you when you feel it. Now sometimes that may be warped.
I'm kind of confused though, because like if you say gut feeling, did you assume like fear, or did you assume like, oh no, like something is probably off and I shouldn't do it because like whatever, it's not a fear thing, it's just like a disagreement or not like seeing the long-term potential.
Well, right. Well, it's the same thing that if you saw, like, you were in a dark parking lot and saw 3 guys with handguns out, your body immediately... Lovely people. We should probably go say hi. Maybe get them on the podcast. But
you get one right next to me, and I get one right next to me.
Hell yeah, man.
The other one is like going to the Sprinter, offloading my new camera setup.
Yeah, never mind. They're perfectly nice people. I mean, but like it's like you feel this like reaction immediately, and you don't even have to think about it. And so it's your body is trying to save you and help you. And I think like that happens in the interviews too, and you start to see these things, or even someone's mood and how they talk. Like there's definitely something to be said about that, where like someone walks into a room, like you're about to get interviewed by your new boss, and he walks in the room, and you get this real weird dark vibe. You're like, oh, this is gonna suck. Then follow that, because like that it sucks when you don't, because like the time scales are what you lose. Then you waste a year, 2 years. It's like, oh my gosh, that's when it's like you should have just walked out that day and you could have gone on to the next thing.
True. Yeah, so don't waste the time. Yeah, on that note, what you struggling with? Like, you have any, like, besides, you said organization. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I'm the guy with the organization, where I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing
It's a constant struggle, my friend.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's a constant struggle. What am I struggling with a lot these days? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing okay right now. I think I'm not really. I know that sounds very trite, but
often enough. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing okay, and that's kind of what I feel like. The future could obviously be better and more positive with like news in general. But overall, like, even if certain things don't work out, I'm like, doesn't faze me.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm pretty happy with a lot. I had a lot of obstacles to overcome this year, I feel like, and I think we're all just finally getting over 2020 a bit, where it's literally taken 2 years, and still taking some time for people to really fully get over this pandemic and what it did to all of our lives and like rock the boat so much. But
we will be different people afterwards.
Yeah.
Just imagining everybody's like, stress doesn't faze me at all anymore. World War IV, whatever. Have been, done that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all stronger because of it, which is good. I feel stronger because of it. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm doing really good. I'm not happy with how much time it takes me to get things done. So that just tells me that the processes need to get a little smoother. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm organizing. One thing I'm having a hard time with is what tools to pay for, what tools not to. Like, should I get shoved into this iCloud world where I'm using iCloud? Should I not? Should I keep resisting it? And so it's all of those types of things right now, which are not design things. In terms of design, I'm just trying to learn new types of code, which have been fun. I just finished a website with a friend teaching him a lot of code, and it's been cool to see him grow. So it's all been good stuff.
Based though, you paid for a MidJourney, and how you feel about that? Was it a recurring thing, or is it like a?
It's once a month, like $10 every month.
Yeah, this adds up. That's the only thing I don't like. Like when you have to pay monthly for the things, and it's like a bunch of little things will cut into.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, I need to go in the budget and probably cut out a lot more again. Yeah. I mean, it's being used. When it's not getting used, I mean, I get $200 a month. And I mean, even for our last podcast, I mean, I went through quite a bit just for that. I mean, that was like 50 images total, maybe 75 images of because it counts all the revisions and everything.
Actually, on that note, I had a live stream waiting for my package, and basically it was like editing via live stream, our podcast, and people like the Leonardo DiCaprio. Did I say that wrong? I think it did.
A little bit. But I spelled it wrong, so you might as well say it how I spelled it.
It could be. But basically, that was a really good image because, like, the pizzas there, basically everybody liked, like, the top right and the top left. It was pretty good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So totally worth it.
Totally worth it. My $10 was worth it for that one image, that masterpiece.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, like, even running the Dungeons and Dragons campaign with all this crazy art, people were, like, blown away. They're like, did you do this? And I had to, like, at the end of it...
images, actually, I'm kind of curious about that. Can you throw them on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a dark campaign, so...
Yeah, let's go. We're look at my room. I'm not even, like, in the...
No, you're in the dark cave.
Yeah, you have the warm colors going on with the warm light. I have the blue light. I'm cold.
You're cold.
What was that Game of Thrones with the ice people or whatever they were? Yeah. I'm bad with like
Ice Walkers?
Ice Walkers. Call me the Ice Walker.
White Walkers? White Walkers, that's what they were.
White Walkers. Yeah,
White Walkers, robots.
Hitting the spot.
All right.
But yeah, on that note, everybody who's listening, please make sure to like the podcast on Spotify. But yeah, let a comment down below what you do for your creative outlets, because like we would like to discover more creative niches. And we're kind of like in our world, Sean's like the web designer, graphic designer, and I'm like the videographer. So I'm like everything by me surrounds video and like gear and all that stuff and like creating content. And Sean's world is like making paintings and designing logos and websites. So I'm kind of curious what other jobs are out there. Actually, on that note, I'm currently, I think like I will pull up something. I want to know the
and I'm ready to
most
go.
creative
right
jobs. Creative jobs of 2020. But 2022. That is like now a thing.
So I'll quickly show this. So these are some of the things from the D&D session. So this was a dark, mysterious courtroom with a mysterious magistrate in it. Hopefully none of my D&D parties watching, because some of these they didn't actually go to. These are just like alternate things that happened. Here's an alternate to that one.
Looks really good though, my dude.
Yeah, this was after a few revisions, and then this was the one I revised a lot, where they were like looting this kind of dark mages room. So I made this like thing where this is what it looked like as they were. And then this is the village that they like had to explore with ravens. It was all raven motifs. So it put all these cool little places for ravens to sit on all the houses. I love that. It like just came up with that as like that would be a cool invention, because it kept saying it was like
how real that looks though. I'm baffled, to be honest. Like, what did you type in for that? I'd have to copy and pasted the description of the.
I didn't keep track of these. I should have, because I did like a really big one where like has like, which we showed last one, where we showed you can have different quality. So I had the quality all the way up and maximized. So it took forever to render and stuff, but it was amazing. So like, this one was probably like mysterious village with mist, with a surrealist moon in background, with ravens and raven motifs, and it's just like. And what's funny is I think this one actually, believe it or not, someone actually liked it on the Discord and started doing their own versions out of it. So that was kind of funny to see that someone totally just started stealing this concept. And then they met this one. This was really cool. I like this one where they went into this church and there's like this druid priest. So it had to look very like elvish and.
So on that note, though, for Dungeons and Dragons, that will kind of determine like the ideas they come up with, because they see the environment, they,
and it was an interesting thing because I tried not to do it all the time because I don't want to ruin their imagination for it too. But I wanted to give them a couple just key scenes so they could really dial in, and I think it worked a lot to like kind of. This was like a dungeon they had to break someone out of, and. Yeah, so it was really cool though. I think because I just had an iPad that I was able to kind of splash this on throughout the game, and it's just really cool for them to be like, you walk into a church, you see this druid on the floor with all of these candles around her, and you just like see this image. They were like, oh my god, this is epic. And I have the music playing, of course, and stuff like that. So it's like kind of like, how do you break down the fourth wall, right?
Yeah.
How do you create that fourth wall, really? And so it's so I loved it for that. Like I really blew their minds. They were like. Because some of it was just too close to the story, where like if I was to just go searching for that stuff, I would never find it that close to my story.
Find something, but it would
something close, but it wouldn't be like the exact
look.
But that was just like they were just blown away. They were like, "Whoa!" And like I had shown you, I'd made a little intro video too for the campaign using After Effects, where it had like this 3D like text. So like they're just like it's cool to kind of bring your creative world into these projects. Where you're just like, oh, you don't even know. I'm going to be the best dungeon master in the world because I can do all the creative
Wait till you
things.
see my dungeon.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so it's cool for that stuff. Well, and it's interesting because as I did this, I was like, you know what? There is an AI out there that can write copy, right? And there's an AI here that can do this stuff. Like you and I could make a short story today, a graphic novel today in one day.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
The world is different, but I also you kind of get lost in the hustle and the struggle, like, oh, gotta grow a following, gotta make money and make great art and like get to be known, blah blah blah. I kind of got into this movement where it's like, okay, I need to focus more on high quality product and basically just like focusing more on quality and enjoying myself more. So that is like a thing I'm still struggling with because I need to learn to enjoy myself, play guitar, do all those things, and just in being a human being. I was yesterday at a concert, and the small talk was rough.
It was rough? Why? Just because you're out of shape, or
no, I'm just like, okay, everybody's like, oh yeah, they're talking about knives, and like, oh yeah, cool, knives. Yeah, nice. And then so that's how my small talk went. I'm
nice,
just like,
bruh.
Cool. I was just like, I need to have more hobbies, besides like hustling and video stuff. What's kind of weird,
Yeah, our stupid hobbies are cool. Like I have disc golf too, so that's a stupid hobby where like, it's like I don't really take it seriously, but I can talk all day about it. It's nice. It's nice to have these things that are just not political. You don't have to be good at them. It's great. I would suggest that for any creative to have something that's kind of outside of what you do is so important, to just like get out and do other stuff that doesn't have to be good, which I think you do a little bit. You do it in your work. You experiment a lot in your work. I think you get a lot of joy to doing something new.
Yeah, I like pushing like weird stuff. and learning, pushing limits and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about with the one photo from the MidJourney thing that you just shared. It looked like a little bit extra rectangular, like the 360 world. I'm just like, can I make actually a 360 photo in that AI? So that's on my mind right now. So I just want to type it into MidJourney.
You probably can. You probably can because like
because it will just like make a world out of it. Like
so in some of those, I did use the words wide angle too. So I did use like wide angle in a couple of them. So probably I wouldn't. Yeah, so, I've seen it all. Yeah, probably.
So I'm just like, okay, I'll probably turn on my VR headset and just like generate some extra rectangular images. And
and just splice them together, and then
it automatically does it with in the VR headset and the players.
So there you go.
So I'm like you just put in those words and let's see if it works. Yeah, so I'm
well, there's a lot of great videos. I wish I could point people to them, but definitely go out and search for videos of people doing MidJourney to Blender and doing that kind of jump and showing how that goes. So cool. Like they'll just take like the stuff I just showed you and very quickly show you how to build that stuff out, and it's like, whoa, it's so cool. So you can even use this stuff as a map. It's so. It's crazy.
The future.
It's exciting and scary. Like, it is a good way to describe it. I think it's how you described it. It's exciting and terrifying, and it totally is. It's both.
Yeah, you got to be like a child and just play and experiment. On that note, I hear we actually will have a live podcast soon. Is that still happening?
We will. Yes, we will. Yeah, definitely. So I think I can even give you a date right now that this live podcast can happen, everybody. So everybody.
Something already?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My wallet says yes. So the first podcast, I'm just checking my stuff, would be Friday the 21st of October. So almost 1 month from today, we will be having, so I guess in 4 episodes, we will be together in studio for the first ever live stream.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, definitely. On this note, I have like a list. I had a list open for most creative. I just closed it because I got so excited about the actual rectangular shenanigans thing. But I'm getting sidetracked on this time.
Lists and organization.
Yeah, today we had a lot going on, like drama.
Yeah, drama, but good stuff. Good stuff. Lots of good projects and stuff.
Yeah. On that note, what is your next creative project?
Oh, he's just going to go right into it. I have a small one. So I have one of my clients. I have no problem shouting him out here. Is Physcira. So Physcira.
The physics bus.
Yep. So they do the physics boxes, physics in a box, which is this product they provide to schools that kind of they don't have the funds to really have a professional science lab, physics lab, and so we're starting on a new project where we're going to start actually the online store, which we've been putting off for years and years of him actually having this be sold online and parts of this be sold online, and we're going to finally build it.
We need to do that too. That should.
We do. He pays better.
True.
No, we do, though. We totally do, though. On a meta level, there's a lot we need to do on this episode. But I will say this. We come out every week at least. So we just got to keep the episodes coming out, keep the good stuff churning. And for all of you guys out there listening, it means a lot. Please comment, please like, please subscribe. It does. It means the world to us.
We broke a milestone. I think it was like our first 500 views or something like that.
Well, that's cool. I like that. That's a cool metric. So thank you all, the two, just like I said, our 2 moms and 3 friends that watched 200 times each. Thank you so much, the world. And the rest of you.
Yeah, we're big here. Yeah, on that note, I think like we should call it a day and see you in another one. Or you have anything else to say, Sean?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're only at 42 minutes. I don't want to scrap them here. Let's see here. We got like let's give like 8 more minutes of content here. I could pull some stuff out here. Yeah. So you okay? You want to say something?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, you're listening. Is that when it seems like you're not going to listen. Okay. No. But yeah, I mean, like one thing I do want to just say to everyone with like what we were saying earlier about gut feelings and things like that is that if you do feel like there is anxiety, and that if you do feel like that, like you are scared to go out of your shell and do things, first off, you're not alone. All of us go through it. Even the people that are doing well in their career, even if you go to a networking event and there's some bigwig there who's creative director of the year, blah, 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 even he probably had anxiety going that night. And so just know, like, those gut feelings, I know when we say that, there's people that probably can read that and be like, yeah, I get that gut feeling all the time and it paralyzes me, is recognize the gut feelings that serve you and the ones that don't. And keep pushing yourself. Keep getting out there. Every time that you face that anxiety, go to the networking thing, get the new client, pick up the phone, send the estimate. I can't tell you how many estimates I've had my cursor over the send button for like 10 minutes, just like, you got to send it. No, it's too much. Just send
risky
it. No,
text,
it's too much.
sending the risky text.
But now I've after years of doing it, it's starting to not have as bad anxiety. Like I have no problem sending the scary estimates. I still have a problem going to networking things, I will say. So I still sometimes feel this kind of like terrifying fear. But even then, like, I can get through it. I kind of know also that, you could just leave these things too. Go to stuff and just know that if you hate it, leave. Yeah. But yeah, so I just wanted to hit that. I know people out there that like suffer with anxiety, suffer through that stuff. They hear gut feelings and they're like, well, gut feelings don't help me. And I think that's right. I think there's gut feelings that serve you, gut feelings that don't. Get rid of those bad ones, man. Because you're beautiful, you're precious. Get out there in the world.
Yeah, I 100% agree, especially for the young people, because like when you get into 30s, it's like you have seen a lot of stuff, you're getting used to a lot of things, and the pain is always there, and you get used to it, and you can choose to ignore it. That was me yesterday, where I'm like, okay, I'm at the concert, and I'm like, I cannot really small talk with those people, and I could be like trying to come up with some socially awkward, like, let's make some fun, weird topics, and be worried that they flop. Well, let's be quiet. And
that's something too is always just feel free to listen. I mean, I can't tell you. That's what I do. Is like if I don't really fit in, it's like, really cool. Tell me more. What's up about knives, brah? Let's talk about knives. And so I've done that, and people love that too, especially if you actually, like I've said before, you just give genuine feedback, genuine comments, genuine interest, right?
Yeah.
So there's
that you can ask actually. Like if you have problems small talking, best thing you can do is like ask them stuff and how did you do that? Kind of sort of. And it's like there's like a book, How to Win and Influence Friends, which sounds really weird, but it's kind of like hitting the nail on the head. Like everybody likes talking about themselves, and like if you have the right questions that are true questions where you're generously interested in, like, how do you do this, and it's not like a fake question where you don't care. They will obviously know, but if you can find something interesting about that person, you can ask anything and hold a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. One of the best things that advice that I give to people that want to meet people is a lot of people always ask, especially networking things, what do you do? And I think that's fine and all. But I like to just ask people, what do you like to do? Like, what do you do for fun? Like, and everyone has something they like to do for fun. And some of them it's funny because they'll actually have to think about it because they don't ever get asked what they like to do for fun.
Well, I don't know what I do for fun besides like freaking out that I should.
Yeah, they're just like,
things.
Fun? Yeah, so I mean...
Is that money?
Is it money? But yeah, no, I mean, so it's... Yeah, so I just want to say that is those gut feelings. But, I love that you brought up that example earlier of, like, people leave you and they come back and you get that gut feeling back. Like, do I just let them back in? Do I let them become a client again? And I just say, like, if your gut feeling's like, no, there's something weird here, then follow that. Because I mean, that's great too. I mean, that's great advice. And don't be afraid to say no, even at the interview. They don't have all the cards. Nobody has all the cards, and it's taken me so long to realize that nobody has all the cards. Nobody could solve your situation anyway.
That brings me also to like another concept where we were like talking about, and it's like. Do you want to do this project, and does that project make sense for you, like long term, And I'm like, if you think about it, I'm like, you would multiply, like, let's say you get this one creative project done. Do you want to be known for that? Because you maybe will do like 5 or maybe 10 in your lifetime. or maybe more, depending on how big the event is or whatever it is. I'm like, is it worth to spend the time on that thing? And if you see it out of, that broader vision of your lifetime, then you become very selective about the things that you should do. Obviously, this is not motivational if it's not hitting the spot, and sometimes you just need to get some money to pay the bills. But
sometimes things are just stepping stones.
Yeah,
sometimes things are just stepping stones, and that's okay too. I mean, we're all, none of us are above that. If everything falls apart, that like I have to go work at Walmart or Starbucks or wherever, I mean that could happen.
I come for a coffee.
I mean, I someday feel like I will be a barista still. I keep applying, but they never hire me. But someday. But so I'm not above that. I don't think anyone's really above that. It's everything could be a stepping stone. I think you just have to, especially in all of the wildness. Yeah, you have to find happiness, and you have to keep being in love with what you're in love with, and keep trying to fall in love with more. I mean. That's really what it comes down to, is just be in love with what you're doing. Like, literally have a great time. I mean, you're on this planet to have a great time. I think we all forget that like this world is a good world. It's a good planet. So you should just enjoy it. You really should enjoy yourself on this planet. Like, to not that's the waste right there.
Yeah. And you know what? What I learned out of this podcast was you saying with the God, with the Buddhist. It doesn't matter what happened beforehand or what will happen after the garden. Just make the best garden possible. And I'm like, oh, this is deep, when sometimes we take on work that is like not like up to the budget that we have, or it's maybe like with some weird stipulations, so it's worth our time, and we're salty about it, not knowing if we get paid because like they didn't want to pay up front or whatever, what is not recommended, and all those stuff, But sometimes you do just work, and then if you do the work salty, it's not as good work as it is when you're like, oh no, you're doing the best thing and you just do it for that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all guns for hire, right? And it's as simple as that. Hit your target, get paid. And so if you don't like something that you're doing, break it down to that. They need a good brochure. I make cool brochures. They need a demo reel. I make cool demo reels. Like, you don't have to do worse work for them. And if you ever feel like at any point that you're going to do worse work, then that's the red flag. That's the gut feeling. That's the waste of your time. Because bad people do deserve good work too. That's the weirdest thing too. Is I've done work for people that don't necessarily aren't the fun people to work with, but they need it too. So it's like, but oh man, we got a visitor, a cat visitor.
There's a lot of drama going on today.
Lots of drama, lots of cats everywhere, everybody. Yeah. But with that, definitely the kind of moment of zen of this is just like a monk would do the sand garden, or even when you're doing anything as simple as washing the dishes or cleaning the floor. Next time you're filling up the gas in your car, is try to be present. Try to literally follow every movement you do and feel everything you do, because there's so much throughout a day that we do ignore now, and sometimes that can be the creativity too. So I would say that too. When you start your day, you start the computer, kind of try to be present. What are you doing? What are you opening? How's the process?
Most of the things runs on autopilot, and you will skip for life, and it's not good.
Exactly. So I think
everything is a habit if you
exactly. And so I think, so with that, just be present, just be present, and you'll be okay. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we're doing a good job, and I would say anyone watching this to do a good job of new technologies too, of being present. That like MidJourney just was formed this year officially. There's a lot of these things are not old. They're very new, and we're not like, oh, I don't know, maybe I should hold back. Like, we're trying to jump into it as quick as possible, and I think that's being present, is like know the moment, feel the moment. And with that being said, know if right now there's old technology you should go back to. Now is a good time to go back to the hand lettering paintbrush stuff. Maybe it is it's just being very present. So it all comes back to that. And that's what's nice about the gut feeling, is like, even if your mind's not present, your body will do it for you. Your body will do the physical. Whoa, that's weird. So just be present.
I like hearing that. On that note, but I think now we shall wrap it up and see you in another episode after you hit this like button.
Only if you press the like. If you don't, we end it right now. So press it now. Now.
Now.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. This has been another great podcast. Thank you, my buddy Fitz, and we will see you in the next one of this podcast.